Good morning, good evening, good afternoon from wherever you are. My name is Julia Nakayuma, CPA and MBA from Jovima Digital Consultants. Here comes another session of tax information. Remember, we are already in the tax season. The US tax season is already here. We are filing taxes for the tax year 2025. So, if you're new to taxes, if this is your first time to file taxes, or if you're an international student that doesn't know where to start from, please contact us. We shall guide you on how you could file your taxes. Here is some of the information you need, because you may need to either refresh yourself, your mind about this, or you may need to know if you're truly new to this. We shall need your personal information in filing your taxes, and this will include your driver's license, if any, which will include your social security number. We usually ask for the card to verify, and we also need your ITIN if at all you don't have social security. Now, something here to understand. We shall need all this information for yourself. If you're married, filing jointly, also for your partner. And again, if you're filing for the first time, would you prefer having both of you available if possible? If not, one of you should be available if this is your first time to file taxes with us. We shall also need information for your dependents. And dependents, I mean the children, anybody depending on you, but there is something to understand here. There is a criteria, a qualification criteria, where someone qualifies as a dependent. They should all have their social security numbers or the ITINs. I need to put a very big disclaimer here. Last tax season, I saw a challenge where some immigrant taxpayers were trying to file for their dependents, but these dependents are not in the US. These dependents don't have social security number. So, however much they qualify as dependents, when you go to the qualifying criteria, they still have to have the information. They still have to have been in the US. They still must have social security, especially the kids. So, we need to make sure you have this information. Do not forget your last year's tax return. Now, for those of you whose taxes were not done by us, it's automatically that we don't have your information. But for those whose taxes are done by us, it's automatic that your information is in our database. So kindly carry your tax return for last year. Why do we want this? We want to see carryovers, we want to see deductions, we want to see possible refunds, because we've seen clients forget. They get a refund, and this tax year you ask if they had a refund and they cannot recall. They probably know they had a refund, but they don't know how much. So this helps us to confirm that information. Number 2, the documents you will need here is your income documents. This varies, depends on what you do for a living. For people who earn wages and salaries, we need your W2. How do you get this? Get back to your employer, ask for the W2. They'll give it to you. Please get this before 31st January. It will be better. Number 2, if you're self-employed or an independent contractor, can you kindly get us your 1099 NEC, where you earn your money? This will help us to verify your income. And I know by the time you get this 1099, W9 must have been filed some time ago. Another thing is the 1099 miscellaneous. For those of you who have other incomes like rent income, you want prizes or awards, get us that document. It will facilitate our tax filing process. Another document you should think about here, for those ones who invest, for example, in crypto, stocks, bonds, people who are in investment, there are so many other 1099s we need here. For example, we would need a 1099 NIT if you earn any interest from bank or from anywhere. We shall also need a 1099 div if you earn dividends, if you invested, you're a shareholder somewhere. We shall need a 1099K if you have a third-party platform, for example, people who earn through Cash App. We need that. We shall need the 1099R for people who are in pension, who earn that. We shall need SSA 1099 for people in social security. We shall also need this is called a Schedule K1 for those in partnership. So it depends on how you earn, and please If you earn in all the ways, let us get all these documents. They will help us to facilitate the tax filing season. Another thing we should think about here is the people who are self-employed, actually still in that particular arena. People who have business or self-employed, we need to look at your profit and loss statement. People who sell stuff online, people who have their side hustles, I will call it that way. We need that information. We shall also need your expenses receipts. We shall need this. Last year I saw a question, someone asked me, why do you even need these receipts? And I asked, do you want to itemize or to standardize? So the form of deduction you choose dictates which one we need. But for this time, please get us the receipts. Let us get the mileage. For your cars, for example, you're using your car as part of your business. You're doing deliveries, you're doing Uber. Let's get that mileage for the vehicle expenses report. Let's also know your home office. Many of us work from home. So can I get the home office expenses? Of course, we shall get into the floor area, square meter, all those computations, all the appropriations we shall have to do, but get us all the information. Let us know about any assets acquisition or purchases, disposals you've done in the year, so that we prepare a good return. We shall also need to see our prior year depreciation schedule. That's if at all you have these assets. We need to see the asset movement. We need to see what is deductible and what is not deductible. We need to see how your assets have depreciated in response to the income generated. So let's also talk about another item, is the adjustments and the deductions. Now, there are people who deal in a lot of stuff like the IRA deductions. We shall need to look at this, the contributions. We shall look at HSA. We shall have to look at the student loan. If you are, the student loan interest. If you are a student, please, at some point we shall need a 1098T at some point. Or we shall also look at the alimony, people who have divorced, people who have received money in a different way, or one way or the other. Something we should not forget here is the educator expenses, teacher, professor, lecturer. There are some expenses you incur as a lecturer on behalf of your students, like trying to make your job better. Educator expenses, of course, they have a cap somewhere around 300, but we would need to see all those expenses. The thing is, not everything we ask for will end up being deductible. Scenarios change, and depending on the case. So sometimes one will provide you with a lot of documents and they will think, oh, that is deductible. No, it is relative depending on the case. We shall also look at the credits. Of course, this is a very interesting area for so many taxpayers, but we shall look at child tax, we shall look at the child expenses, we shall look at dependent and care, we shall look at and income tax credit. There are a lot of credits to consider here, but we have to provide us information for us to do that. We shall look at the health insurance. Do you have a 1095A or a 1095B or C, depending on the case? Have you been provided with this? Do you have any payments or refunds information? And for those of you who have paid estimated tax in the year, can we have all this information? Can we see any extension payment confirmation? Can we see anything that is prior year that we may need for this tax season? Of course, there are those special situations like changing filing status. Maybe you were married and you divorced, maybe someone died and you're a surviving spouse. There is a lot of information we will need. Maybe you have fallen income and we need to ask for that proof. We need to ask for information. Maybe there was a casualty or a disaster. We need to have all this information. So what are you going to do as a taxpayer? Get us all the documents, all the information as much as you can. The information you provide to us will be used for your taxes, and please be available. I prefer filing taxes for individuals who have cases when they are available, because sometimes some information leads to something else. Thank you so much. CPA Jovia Nakayima, Jovima Digital Consultant.